Today we'll be diving into the mesmerizing saga of Sinead O'Connor, an artist like no other. Her story, her battles, her raw talent will make you see her in a new light and urge you to share her legacy far and wide. Rewind to 1990. The world stood still. A voice so hauntingly beautiful, capturing millions with Nothing Compares to You. But behind the limelight, there was a fiery spirit, an unyielding fighter grappling with her own demons and taking on society's judgments. Imagine defying conventions, tearing a photo of Pope John Paul II on global television. Audacious? Well, that's Sinead O'Connor. But what fueled her fierce spirit and Sinatra's unexpected response? Today, I'll tell you all about it. Join us in celebrating the life of a woman who redefined pop culture, challenged societal norms, and left an incredible, long-lasting impression with her unparalleled talent. Are you ready to embark on this roller coaster of emotions, talent, and defiance? Let's dive in and explore the legacy of Sinead O'Connor. In 1992, Sinead O'Connor made headlines around the world when she tore up a photo of Pope John Paul II on Saturday Night Live. It was a bold protest, and it also ignited an absolute firestorm. Sinead would receive threats, her records would be banned.
And you will hear no Sinead O'Connor on this radio station.
And following that episode of Saturday Night Live, Frank Sinatra showed up on the same stage and said, "I'd like to kick her in the ass." Outrageously, she was then quoted in Esquire magazine in 1991 and said, "I can't hit this man back. He's like 78 years of age. I'd probably kill him." The price of her audacity? Well, it was heavy. The world was not ready for O'Connor's raw authenticity, but she gave it anyway. Sinead was a victim of cancel culture decades before it even had a name. But she never backed down from speaking her truth, even when it cost her so much personally and professionally. That raw authenticity is what made her fans connect to her so deeply. Underneath the controversy, Sinead was fighting her own battles with mental illness and childhood trauma. Music was her lifeline. As she put it, singing was the best way for her to communicate. But more on that soon. Over her decades-long career, Sinead O'Connor released 10 studio albums and was nominated for multiple Grammys and MTV Awards. She influenced artists from Miley Cyrus to Alanis Morissette with her unique sound. Sinead even became a Catholic priest in the 1990s before later converting to Islam in 2018. Her spiritual journey never ended, nor did her instinct to shake things up. But like every coin, there were two sides to Sinead O'Connor. The force behind the headlines. Behind her defiant public persona, Sinead O'Connor was also a shy, self-deprecating person in private. She was never fully comfortable with mainstream pop stardom and all that came with it. As Irish radio host Dermot Whalen, who knew Sinead personally, explained, "She's more like a delicate songbird than a roaring lion." She was actually very different from her media image, quiet, often shy, and deeply sensitive. In a way, Sinead was always wrestling with two sides of herself. On one hand, the fierce, rebellious performer who ripped up photos and raged against injustice, and on the other, a wounded, traumatized soul who struggled with stress and bipolar disorder. It seemed like she could only find comfort for much of her life by creating the music we all loved and with her family. This dichotomy wasn't only fascinating, it was also deeply human. She never aimed for the pop star label. It was too constricting. As the world watched her rise, they missed the internal battles, the tug of war between public perception and her self-image. Music was Sinead's way of channeling all of that intensity. Her albums are raw and emotional, and you can hear the pain and longing in every note. That's why an incident like tearing up the Pope's photo, while controversial, made perfect sense to Sinead O'Connor. She felt that it put her back on her true path as an outsider and provocateur, challenging the status quo. In recent years, a documentary called Nothing Compares shed more light on Sinead's traumatic upbringing and the demons that she battled in private. It helped explain where her anguish and defiance came from. If you haven't seen this documentary and have an interesting take on her life, share it with the community. Those who were closest to Sinead O'Connor say that she was a loving, creative, and incredibly brave soul, but the pain that she carried weighed on her greatly, despite her success. Tragedies and triumphs. Imagine your heart being shattered not once, but repeatedly. Tragically, just last year, Sinead O'Connor lost her youngest son, Shane, at the age of 17. They had a profoundly close bond, and she was utterly devastated. To the world, she was the defiant singer, but to Shane, she was just mom. In her final social media posts, Sinead wrote that Shane was the light of my life and the lamp of my soul. Losing him was too much for her to bear. Sinead O'Connor passed away earlier this month at the age of 56, but the legacy she leaves behind is extraordinary. The world did not always understand or embrace Sinead O'Connor, but she never compromised her vision or artistry to gain wider approval. Even during her most commercially successful period, she followed her own muse, raging against the abuse of power wherever she saw it. Sinead stayed fiercely true to herself, on her own terms, and in doing so, she gave courage to millions of fans who also felt like outsiders. How we've probably all felt at one point or another. She embraced it to create an alchemy of rock and roll, something that we vibe with hard here at Rock Alchemy. Her influence is carved into the alternative rock and grunge movements that followed. Sinead was decades ahead of her time. She was a flawed and complex person like we all are. She made mistakes, battled inner demons, and faced tremendous hardships. But through it all, Sinead O'Connor never wavered in who she was. Learning who she was along the way, even converting to Islam after becoming a priest. But as she would put it, the best way that she could communicate was through her music. What was your favorite song from one of her albums, and who do you think it influenced? Let us know, and we'll work to make a video or a short about it for you guys in the future. And in Ireland, Sinead remains a pillar of musical genius, yet a mosaic of varying perceptions. In her native Ireland, Sinead O'Connor will always remain a towering, even if misunderstood, musical force. Irish radio host Dermot Whalen believes she'll be remembered as a supremely talented, brave, and creative spirit by those who truly knew her. But many will still grapple with her complex public legacy.
I think that just remember a really creative, loving, and very brave individual who's going to be sadly missed.
Her spot in culture was unique, a cocktail of respect, resentment, and riddles. A woman who left no one indifferent. Unsettling? Definitely. Essential? Absolutely. Dermot hit it right. She thrust us into crucial conversations, even when it scorched her. Sinead's albums are like raw, unfiltered diaries set to music, moving effortlessly from raw rage to ethereal beauty, to wisdom sometimes all in one song. Those vocals are unmistakable. Generations of musicians have tried to emulate Sinead's sound, but that combination of punk defiance and Irish melancholy was her alchemy alone. Just like many icons, although a normal person, she was utterly also singular, just like you or me. But what do you think that it was that made Sinead O'Connor who she was? Let us know in the comments down below. The raw reverberation. For all the turbulence, there's an ethereal essence to Sinead that many miss. So for all of her beauty, all of her pain, all of her triumphs and her stumbles, we remember Sinead O'Connor as she wished to be remembered, as a communicator who touched the depths of human experience through song. Few could bear themselves so nakedly in their art. Sinead sang like someone experiencing the rapture and ruin of being alive. And we are unlikely to see another artist like her anytime soon. A tribute to true artistry. So, how do we remember Sinead O'Connor? The gift Sinead O'Connor leaves is the permission she gave to be radically true to oneself, even when it's messy or uncomfortable. There is power in that fearlessness that she embodied. She once said, "The reason people like me become singers is because the best way we can communicate is through song." Sinead gave voice to that impulse, sharing her full humanity without a filter, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we sensed that it came from deep within her bones. That takes real fortitude. Sinead never quit examining life, even when it hurt to look at it. Her example inspires us to do the same here at Rock Alchemy. As simple as getting up and getting to work on time every day. And also, to be honest, speak out, live authentically, shake things up when they need shaking, and ask for that raise when we know that we deserve it. The world didn't always embrace Sinead O'Connor, but she never stopped embracing the world or herself, and there's power in that message. Rest in peace, Sinead O'Connor. Mother, artist, fighter, and free spirit. You were a glorious muse to many, and your provocative, captivating voice will echo in our hearts forever.